At 3 in the morning, I knocked on the bedroom door of the roughest man I had ever met and asked him whether he owned silk sheets. The door opened after a long, dangerous silence. Cole Maddox stood there shirtless, one hand braced on the frame, black hair mussed from sleep, eyes still red at the corners. He was 6'3", built like he had been carved out of old oak and bad decisions, and he looked exactly like the kind of man who could repair an engine with one hand while terrifying a debt collector with the other. I lifted my chin because pride was all I had left. "The cot you gave me is horrible," I said. "The sheets made my arms break out." He looked down. I had rolled up my sleeves. Pale skin, red marks, the whole delicate disaster. I hated that the original body I had landed in was this fragile, but I had to admit it sold the complaint. Cole's gaze paused on the rash. "No silk sheets," he said. "Then I want your bed." His brow rose. Behind him, the bed looked wide, soft, warm, and unfairly inviting. I had run away from a forced engagement, arrived at his garage with one designer suitcase and no pajamas, and had spent one night on a folding cot that felt like sleeping on a stack of wire hangers. If this was a romance novel, which the floating comments soon informed me it was, then the author clearly enjoyed torturing rich girls with poor bedding. I tugged at the hem of his oversized work shirt, the only thing I had to sleep in. "Your grandfather promised my grandfather he would protect me. You are his grandson. So technically, the bed is part of the protection package." Cole stared at me. Then the air in front of my face shimmered. Comments rolled across my vision in glowing white text. "Here we go. The spoiled supporting girl starts tormenting the hero. She ran from her arranged marriage and still acts like a princess in his garage. Just wait. When Cole becomes rich and meets the real heroine, this brat will be dumped in the mountains where she belongs." I froze. Hero. Real heroine. Dumped in the mountains. I had not been in this world long enough to own a phone charger, and apparently my future already involved dramatic outdoor disposal. I turned back to Cole. "Do you think I'm tormenting you?" He tossed a blanket over my head. "I would never dare, princess," he said. "Also, next time you steal my shirt, button it properly." His voice was rough. His ears, very interestingly, were red. That was the first moment I suspected the comments might be idiots. To understand how I ended up in Cole Maddox's garage, you need to know 3 things. First, my name in this world was Scarlett Wren, only daughter of a dead real estate developer and granddaughter of a man who had once saved Cole's grandfather from bankruptcy. Second, my uncle had seized control of the Wren estate after my grandfather died and arranged for me to marry a 60-year-old investor with more divorces than teeth. Third, I had woken up inside Scarlett's body 1 week before the wedding, taken one look at the groom's photo, and decided death in a ditch had better lighting. So I ran. Scarlett's memories led me to Maddox Auto, a repair shop an hour outside Boston, where Cole lived above the garage and carried every burden like he was allergic to asking for help. His grandfather, the man who would have protected me, was gone. Cole could have turned me away. He did not. He gave me a room, a cot, food, and 3 rules. Do not touch the tools, do not answer unknown calls, and do not wander outside alone. Naturally, I broke the emotional spirit of all 3 within 48 hours. The next morning, I made him take me shopping. Not because I wanted to ruin his business opportunity, as the comments kept accusing me, but because my skin was allergic to half the cheap fabrics in the garage. The soap gave me hives, and I had no clothes that did not scream escaped heiress on a security camera. Cole handed me a black card in the mall parking lot. "There is 80,000 on it," he said. "Buy what you need." I stared. "You run a small repair shop." I said, "Buy what you need." He turned to leave. I grabbed his arm. "You are coming with me." His mouth tightened, but one corner betrayed him by trying to rise. "You need me that badly." "I need someone to carry bags." The comments howled. "She is ruining his business meeting. He is supposed to meet the investor today. Why is he smiling?" Before I could read more, Cole's arm slid around my waist. "Do not move," he said near my ear. 5 o'clock. "Your uncle's men." Every childish complaint in me vanished. He pushed open the nearest fitting room and pulled me inside. It was narrow, bright, and smelled like new cotton. I was pressed against his chest, hearing his heart beat hard and slow. Outside, 2 men moved past, speaking in low voices. "Are they gone?" I whispered. "Not yet." The comments kept talking. "This is where she drags the hero deeper into trouble. He should leave her." Instead, Cole lowered his head and kissed me. It was not soft. It was not planned. It was a cover, a shield, a calculated performance for the men outside who had paused too close to the curtain. But the moment his mouth touched mine, every glowing comment blurred. When he pulled away, I slapped him. The sound cracked through the fitting room. Then I remembered he was the only person between me and my uncle. Cole touched his cheek, eyes dark. "Fair," he said. Outside, his voice turned lazy and vicious. "Hey, you. If you want to spy on my girlfriend getting dressed, at least have the courage to admit it before I break your phone." There was scrambling, cursing, then footsteps fading. Girlfriend. My heart did something stupid. The comments immediately recovered. The heroine will fix him later. Scarlet is just a spoiled obstacle. Why did that kiss look so good? I sat on the fitting room bench and tried very hard not to cry. Cole returned with shopping bags in both hands and a fresh bruise forming on one knuckle. "Princess," he said, softer than usual. "What now?" I looked up at him, eyes wet, pride dented but not dead. "Kiss me again." His jaw flexed. "You know what you are asking." "Yes." "No, you do not." He wiped the corner of my mouth with his thumb, and his voice went rougher. "But I do." He did not kiss me again that day. He took me home. He made dinner. Then he avoided me for 3 days while still leaving meals outside my door exactly on time, each plate balanced with protein, vegetables, and something sweet because apparently the rough hero of this so-called garage romance had been quietly learning my tastes. During those 3 days, the garage died. No customers. No deliveries. Cole came upstairs later and later. His eyes looked bloodshot. He smelled faintly of cigarettes even though he never smoked near me. The comments eventually revealed the truth. My uncle was pressuring every supplier, insurer, and regular customer connected to Maddox Auto. If Cole kept hiding me, he would lose the business his grandfather built. That night, when he knocked with dinner, I opened the door immediately. He looked startled. "Have you eaten?" I asked. "Yes." "Liar." He sighed. "Your nose is dangerous." "Only to liars." I pulled him into the room and made him share the food he had cooked for me. It was steak over rice, cut into neat strips, not fancy but perfect. I watched him eat like a man remembering his body had needs. On his nightstand, half hidden under a rag, I found a small notebook with a cartoon cat sticker. I opened it before he could stop me. "She arrived today. Annoying. Does not eat green peppers. Ate all the fish. Allergic to cheap sheets. Of course she is. Fine. She is fragile. Like a cat. My shirt looks dangerous on her." Cole snatched the notebook from my hand. "You keep a diary?" "Inventory notes." "You wrote that I am like a cat." "Did not." "I saw it." "You are drunk from licking whiskey off a bottle like a raccoon." "I am not drunk." I paused. "Why do you have 3 heads?" He closed his eyes as if praying for patience. That was the night I accidentally told him I liked him. I do not remember saying it clearly. I remember leaning into his shoulder, warm and dizzy, saying, "I only cling because I like you," then falling asleep before I could see his face. The next morning, there was steamed fish on my table with every bone removed. Beside it was a note. "Heat it if it gets cold. Tonight, I will take you somewhere better." Instead, by sunset, I ended up in a costume outside a roadside diner, wearing a pink fox suit because I had decided the spoiled princess could earn money too. I lasted 2 hours. Then my uncle's men found me. I ran through the alley behind the diner, tripped over the ridiculous costume feet, and would have hit the pavement if someone in a tailored coat had not caught me. When I woke, I was in a luxury house. The man who saved me wore gold-rimmed glasses, a perfectly cut suit, and the smile of someone who had never had engine grease under his nails. "Scarlett Wren," he said. "Good news. Your original fiancé cancelled the marriage." "And the bad news?" He smiled wider. "You are now promised to my family." His name was Julian Hale. The comments identified him as the second male lead, the elegant heir, the calm protector, the man who was supposed to make the real heroine hesitate. What the comments did not explain fast enough was that Julian was Cole's older brother. Cole found me 30 minutes later by breaking through the front door. He looked like he had run through the entire state. His hair was wild, his shirt torn at one shoulder, eyes bright with panic that disappeared the second he saw I was awake. Julian said, "No one taught you manners, little brother." Cole stepped in front of me. "No one taught you not to hide another man's girlfriend." Girlfriend again. I should have corrected him. I did not. The family drama unfolded fast. Cole, born into the Hale family and lost as a child, had known his identity for years and refused to return. He wanted nothing from the people who abandoned him. But my uncle, after losing the first marriage deal, tried to sell me into the Hale family instead. Julian claimed he was my new fiancé. Cole had returned to fight that arrangement from the inside. "You can stay wherever you want," Cole told me when Julian offered me a bedroom with a mattress softer than my moral resolve. I looked at the bed. Then at Cole. Then at the bed again. "I want to stay." Julian smiled like a winner. Cole sat beside me. "Great," he said. "Then I stay too." Julian stopped smiling. That night, the rich girl bed was perfect. I could not sleep. So I slipped barefoot down the hallway and knocked on Cole's door. He opened it and immediately picked me up. "Barefoot," he scolded, kneeling to wipe my feet with a towel. "Are you trying to get sick?" I did not want Julian to hear. Since when do you care what he hears? Since I had started caring what Cole thought. I crawled into his bed and stole his ugly grey blanket. It smelled like clean laundry, motor oil, and him. Cole watched me, eyes suspiciously bright. "Princess, are you saying you cannot sleep without me? Do not flatter yourself. Then why are you here?" I buried my face in the blanket. "Your room is less annoying." He laughed under his breath. The comments, which had spent days insisting I would be abandoned, began arguing with themselves. Is this still the spoiled villainess route? Why is the heroine not here? Where is the heroine? The heroine arrived the next morning. Her name was Hannah Wells. She was gentle, bright, and so pretty that even I, a professional jealous supporting character by supposed destiny, had to admit the casting department had taste. Julian arranged a breakfast meeting. Cole looked bored. I looked nervous. Hannah looked at me as if she knew too much. Half an hour into awkward polite conversation, she asked me to go to the restroom with her. I prepared for a confrontation. Instead, the moment the door closed, Hannah grabbed my hands. "Which one did you choose?" "Excuse me." "The male lead," she whispered. "Cole or Julian? You can see comments too, right?" I stared at her. "You are the heroine." "I am a background character from a different version," she said. "In my copy, I only cared about making money and dating models." We compared memories. The truth was absurd. The original author had abandoned the novel halfway. Pirated sites had copied it, rewritten it, merged roots, and produced multiple endings. In one, I was the villainess. In another, Hannah was the heroine. In another, Julian won. In another, Cole became rich alone and never married anyone. The comments were not destiny. They were reader noise leaking from every stolen version at once. So how do we turn them off? I asked. Hannah opened her phone. "Maybe finish the last scene." The last scene in my version said, "The lazy supporting girl demands $30 million from the heroine to leave the hero. The heroine pays. The hero overhears and finally gives up on her." I immediately held out my hand. "Please, rich sister. Give me $30 million so I can leave Cole." Hannah's eyes sparkled. "With pleasure. May you have 30 million reasons to be happy." The bathroom door opened. Cole stood there, face black as thunder. "Princess," he said quietly, "you want to leave me?" That was how I learned two things. First, bathrooms in mansions had terrible timing. Second, Cole Maddox had much more money than he pretended. He took me back to the garage, opened an old safe, and pulled out several bank cards, investment documents, and one folder marked with my uncle's name. "30 million, he asked. "That is your price?" It was a joke. Bad joke. The comments said finishing the scene might turn them off. He pushed the folder toward me. "Your uncle's shell companies. The marriage contracts. The threats. Julian gave me some. I found the rest." "Why did you not tell me?" "Because I wanted to solve it before you worried." "That is stupid." "I am aware." He sat across from me, suddenly looking less like a hero and more like the boy his grandfather raised, tired and stubborn and afraid to reach for what he wanted. "I went back to the Hale family because of you," he said. "Not because you ruined anything. Because I wanted enough power to make sure no one could sell you again." My eyes burned. "Cole, I know you like comfort. I know you like soft beds and expensive soap and fish with the bones removed. I know you complain first and get scared later. I know you pretend to be more selfish than you are because asking for care feels safer than begging for love." He leaned closer. "I know you are not the villainess." The comments flickered wildly. Route unstable. Hero recognition event triggered. Stolen version plot collapse. I laughed through tears. "I am still very expensive." "Good," he said. "I am a businessman." "And what exactly are you buying?" "The chance to keep taking care of you, if you want me to." This time, when he kissed me, it was not a cover. It was a choice. After that, everything moved fast. Hannah helped us expose the pirated contract version by making a public charity bid that trapped my uncle into revealing forged documents. Julian, elegant and irritating, testified against him because he disliked being used as a pawn almost as much as he disliked losing to Cole. The Hale family, faced with scandal, admitted Cole's identity and gave him the shares his mother had left in trust. Cole did not abandon the garage. He expanded it. Maddox Auto became Maddox Motors, then a luxury restoration brand with a waiting list full of collectors. He could attend board meetings in tailored suits and still spend nights under a vintage Mustang, grease on his hands, swearing at bolts. I invested in allergy-safe bedding, boutique textiles, and a ridiculous line of silk pajama sets that sold out because Hannah marketed them as princess-proof comfort. The comments eventually faded. Before they vanished, one last line crossed my vision. Maybe the spoiled girl was never spoiled. Maybe she was just finally allowed to be cared for. I liked that ending better. On the night Cole proposed, he did not choose a restaurant, a ballroom, or a yacht. He took me back to the garage bedroom. The old cot was gone. The wide bed had silk sheets, a grey blanket, and one ridiculous cartoon cat pillow. Full circle. I asked. "Better sheets," he said. The ring was simple. Not because he could not afford more. Because he knew heavy jewelry annoyed me when I slept. "Scarlett," he said, kneeling beside the bed where I had once demanded his pillow at 3 a.m. "You can have any mansion, any mattress, any life you want. I am asking whether you would let me be part of it." I looked at the man the comments had promised would leave me. Then I looked at the bed he had rebuilt around every small complaint I had ever made. "Yes," I said. "But I'm keeping the cat pillow." Cole smiled. "I bought 3 backups." That was when I knew I had chosen correctly. Before the wedding, there was still the matter of my uncle. People like Uncle Victor did not vanish because a girl found a man willing to stand beside her. They simply changed tactics. He had lost the elderly investor, lost the Hale marriage contract, lost access to my grandfather's trust, and lost the quiet obedience he had expected from the spoiled niece he thought he could frighten. So he tried reputation. The first headline appeared on a Tuesday morning. "Runaway heiress hides in mechanic's bedroom while family business collapses." The article had photos from outside Maddox Auto, grainy shots of me in Cole's shirt, and one picture of Cole carrying shopping bags while I held his arm. It called him a gold digger, me unstable, and our relationship a disgrace to the Wren name. I read it over breakfast. Cole stood by the stove making eggs. Do not read the comments, he said. Too late. Princess. Someone said I look like I would cry if a pillowcase had polyester in it. Would you? That is not the point. He slid eggs onto my plate. Would you? Maybe. His mouth twitched. The glowing comments chose that moment to return. This is where the villainess loses public support. The hero should realize she is too much trouble. Why is he making her eggs? I stabbed the eggs with my fork. I hate them. The reporters. The invisible peanut gallery. Cole leaned back against the counter. Then answer them. What? You always answer everyone else. Answer them. That sounded ridiculous. Then I realized it also sounded satisfying. So I opened a live stream. Hannah nearly choked when I called her to help. Julian advised against it, which confirmed it was worth doing. Cole silently moved the good lamp from his room into the garage office because apparently even rebellion needed decent lighting. I sat in front of the camera wearing a cream sweater, no jewelry, and the exact expression my grandmother used when firing incompetent accountants. Good morning, I said. Since my uncle has decided to discuss my bedroom arrangements in public, I will discuss his financial crimes with receipts. The internet, bless its messy heart, stayed. For 47 minutes, I showed contracts, forged signatures, threats from his assistant, documents proving he had tried to sell my marriage twice, and evidence that he had pressured Maddox auto suppliers. Hannah handled the file display. Julian confirmed the Hale contract had been negotiated without my consent. Cole stood behind the camera, arms crossed, face so murderous that the live chat briefly got distracted. When a reporter asked whether I had manipulated Cole for shelter, I smiled. I asked for his bed because his cot gave me a rash. That was unreasonable, yes. I am working on communicating like an adult. My uncle attempting to force me into marriage is also unreasonable, but I notice fewer people call him dramatic. The comments above my head froze. Then new lines appeared. She admitted fault. That is not how the villainous scene works. Maybe the scene was wrong. By lunch, Victor Wren's phones were ringing non-stop. By dinner, 2 of his partners had cut ties. By midnight, the police wanted documents. Cole watched me close the laptop. You okay? I think I just weaponized my allergies. Effective. You are not embarrassed. By what? Me. The bed thing. The live stream. The fact that every rich person in Boston now knows I cannot sleep on cheap sheets. Cole crossed the room and knelt in front of my chair. Scarlett, I watched you stand up to the man who sold your future and still make room to say you were wrong about my cot. It was a bad cot. Terrible cot, he agreed. I threw it out. My throat tightened. You did. Burned it behind the garage. That seems excessive. It offended you. He said it so seriously that I laughed and cried at the same time. That night, the comments stayed quiet. Not gone, but quiet. As if they had learned that the girl they called spoiled might have claws. Hannah became my closest friend after the livestream, partly because shared weirdness bonds people quickly, and partly because she was the only woman I knew who could say, in my version of Scene 6, you owned a llama farm, with a straight face. We built a spreadsheet of plot contradictions. Cole hated the spreadsheet because Julian helped with it. Julian hated the spreadsheet because Cole kept writing irrelevant rich guy under his character role. I loved it because every contradiction made the comments weaker. In one pirated ending, Hannah married Julian for business and became a venture capitalist. In another, she married Cole after he left the garage and built an automotive empire. In a third, I died in a ravine. In a fourth, I became a fashion blogger in Paris and no one mentioned the men again. Honestly, I said, pointing to the Paris route, this one has potential. Cole's hand landed over the page. No. It has pastries. Boston has pastries. Paris has better sheets. I can import sheets. Hannah laughed until she wheezed. Julian adjusted his glasses. This is not research anymore. This is flirting with footnotes. You are only bitter because the llama route ignored you, I said. He looked genuinely offended. The legal case against Victor took months. During that time, I learned the parts of Cole's life the comments never cared about. How he was found as a boy on a highway outside Providence with no memory except a first name. How his grandfather took him in, taught him engines, taught him not to trust people who spoke too smoothly, and left him the garage with a debt problem Cole had paid down dollar by dollar. How the Hale family found him at 19, ran DNA tests, and offered money as if money could backfill childhood. Why did you not take it? I asked one night. We were sitting on the garage roof eating takeout. Cole had one knee drawn up, looking over the dark lot where restored cars gleamed under floodlights. Because they did not ask what I wanted, he said. I thought about that. What did you want? He looked at me. At 19. To keep the garage. To not become a replacement son. To not owe anyone grief on demand. And now? The answer came slower. To choose what I keep. My heart softened in a dangerous direction. And what do you keep? The garage, he said. Granddad's tools. My name. You, if you let me. The comments flickered once. Hero chooses supporting girl. Not supporting. Main. I looked away before he could see my eyes fill. My uncle was arrested in November. The old investor tried to flee to Florida and was caught at a private airport because Hannah, who had discovered a taste for investigation, sent the authorities his travel plans with the subject line "Gross man attempting escape." The Wren estate returned to me in pieces. Not as much as my uncle had stolen, but enough. More importantly, the contracts were voided. No one could sell me to anyone again. The first thing I bought with fully reclaimed money was not jewelry. It was a new mattress for Cole. He stared at the delivery truck. Princess. Do not start. Your bed has been carrying this relationship since day one. It deserves retirement. Our relationship. The bed's relationship with my spine. He smiled slowly. Of course. We installed it together, which mostly meant I directed while Cole carried things. That night, I sat cross-legged on the new silk sheets and watched him lean in the doorway. You are not sleeping here, I said. It is my room. Our room has terms. His eyes darkened. Our. I realized what I had said 1 second too late. He crossed the room with the patience of a man approaching a skittish cat. Scarlet. Do not look smug. I'm not. Your mouth is. He sat beside me, close but not crowding. Terms, he said. I held up one finger. No making decisions for me because you think you are protecting me. Agreed. No hiding major business problems. Agreed. No calling me princess when you are secretly trying to win an argument. Impossible. Cole. I will reduce frequency. Fine. I get veto power over all sheets. Obviously. And if a glowing comment ever tells you I am destined to be thrown into a ravine, you drive me in the opposite direction. His face sobered. He took my hand. I will burn the map. The comments vanished that night. No fireworks. No system announcement. No great cosmic reward. Just silence. For the first time since I arrived, my thoughts belonged only to me. I fell asleep against Cole's shoulder and woke to sunlight, the smell of coffee, and his notebook open on the nightstand. He had written one new line. She stayed. Under it, smaller. Do not mess this up. I added beneath it. Buy better coffee. When he found it, he laughed so loudly the mechanics downstairs applauded. After Victor's arrest, everyone expected me to return to my old world. Fundraisers, private clubs, brunches where no one ate the bread, and women who could insult 3 generations of your family while complimenting your earrings. I did return for signatures, lawyers, and bankers who needed to be reminded that the Wren estate belonged to me, not to whichever man spoke loudest. But every night, I went back to the garage. That confused people. I had mansions now. I had a Cape house, a townhouse, and the Wren estate itself. Still, the place where I slept best was above Maddox Auto, where the radiator clicked, the coffee machine coughed, and Cole's boots on the stairs told me the day was ending safely. I learned the business because being cared for did not mean becoming decorative. At first, the mechanics treated me like a visiting house cat. Pretty, amusing, and not expected to understand anything with oil in it. I let that last 2 days. Then I found a supplier invoice that had overcharged Cole for months. "Princess," Cole said, staring at my spreadsheet, "how did you catch this?" "My grandfather taught me accounts before he taught me table manners." "That explains a lot. My table manners are excellent." "You threatened Julian with a dessert fork." "I used the correct fork." After that, the mechanics brought me paperwork with the same reverence they brought Cole broken transmissions. I redesigned the customer lounge because no woman wanted to wait for brake pads in a room that smelled like tires and masculine despair. I negotiated vendors, built a real booking system, and made Cole admit that I remember everything was not a scalable business process. The biggest fight we had that year was about an investor. I found out from Hannah that a national chain wanted to buy into Maddox Motors. Cole planned to reject them and thought there was no reason to bother me. That phrase nearly got him murdered in a legally inconvenient way. "You promised not to decide what I needed to worry about," I said, dropping the printed email on his desk. He looked tired. "I did not want you to feel trapped here. And hiding choices makes me feel free." That landed. He took me to the roof with coffee and the full proposal. We read it together. We rejected it together. Not because expansion was wrong, but because their plan wanted to turn his grandfather's shop into a soulless logo. Scripted greetings. Timed mechanics. Upsells disguised as safety advice. "We can expand differently," I said. Training programs. Women mechanics. Apprentices from foster care. Real ownership, slow growth, no fake smiles. That became Maddox Works. Our first apprentices were 4 teenagers from a technical school, 2 girls from a shelter, and 1 boy who arrived late every day until Cole put him in charge of opening the bay doors. Suddenly he was never late again. I taught budgets in the new lounge. Hannah taught media literacy because several kids thought comment sections counted as evidence. Cole taught engines and patience, though patience required more practice. One girl, Riley, ruined a brake line and expected to be thrown out. Cole handed her another part. "Again," he said. "You're not mad." "I'm mad at the brake line." "That makes no sense." "Most feelings don't." Again. Riley stayed. At our first open house, the glowing comments returned as a faint shimmer near the ceiling. "Villainess public redemption event." "No," someone answered. "Community route." Then the shimmer dissolved. I did not tell Cole. Some goodbyes deserve privacy. Julian eventually stopped pretending he hated us. He remained elegant, irritating, and allergic to admitting Cole was right about anything. He invested through a family foundation and added 6 unreasonable conditions, all of which I negotiated down to 2. He and Hannah then developed a relationship based on expensive coffee, mutual irritation, and arguments about whether capitalism could be responsible if one wore good shoes. "Are they flirting?" Cole asked once. "Unfortunately." "Should we stop it?" "Absolutely not. This is the best entertainment rich people have provided me." They were married 18 months later. Hannah claimed she only wanted access to Julian's conference room. Julian claimed he had better conference rooms. I caught the bouquet by accident and immediately handed it to a senator's wife because I refused to let floral arrangements bully me. Our own wedding was smaller. We held it behind the garage, under strings of lights, with restored cars parked in a shining row like witnesses. I wore ivory silk that did not itch. Cole wore a dark suit with work boots because, as he said, vows required honesty. In my vows, I told him he gave me a bed before I knew how to ask for safety. He gave me room to be ridiculous, scared, selfish, kind, wrong, and loved. He never made me become easier in order to keep me. In his vows, he said I made his life harder, louder, and more expensive. Everyone laughed. Then he said I also made it his, not a debt to the past and not a role someone else wrote. He promised soft sheets, honest answers, good coffee, fish without bones, and every door open unless I asked him to close it. I cried so hard the photos were terrible. I love them. Years later, people still summarized us incorrectly. Runaway heiress tamed rough mechanic. Lost heir rescues spoiled girl. Garage romance becomes family empire. None of those were entirely wrong, but they were too small. The truth is this, I was frightened and asked for comfort badly. He was lonely and offered protection clumsily. The world called me spoiled because my needs were visible. The world called him rough because his tenderness had calluses. We did not fix each other. We learned each other's instructions and stopped pretending love should be intuitive. If that is spoiled, fine. I remain gloriously spoiled. My husband buys excellent sheets. There is one more thing people forget about comfort. Once you have it, you become responsible for noticing who does not. Riley taught me that. One winter night she stayed late, pretending to organize sockets while the last bus left without her. I found her in the bay with her jacket zipped to her chin, staring at the snow. Home bad? I asked. She shrugged too quickly. Old me might have panicked and thrown money at the problem. New me called Cole. He called Hannah. Hannah called Marisol. By midnight, Riley had a safe room at the apprentice house we had been planning but not yet opened. By spring, that house held 6 young people, 2 old couches, 3 terrible lamps, and a kitchen where nobody was allowed to call cereal dinner unless they added fruit. Cole said I was building a kingdom of strays. You are one of them, I reminded him. I'm the maintenance staff. Exactly. Maddox's works grew because need kept knocking. A girl who fixed engines better than any boy in class needed childcare for her little brother. A quiet apprentice with burned scars needed legal help to change his name. A retired mechanic wanted to teach but could not stand for 8 hours, so we built a classroom with stools and let him become everyone's favorite terrifying uncle. Every solution made 3 new problems. Every problem made the place more alive. One afternoon, a journalist asked whether I regretted giving up the traditional life of an heiress. I was in the middle of unclogging the customer espresso machine with a paper clip. Do I look like I gave up tradition? I asked. I married a lost heir, took back my estate, defeated a wicked uncle, and built a carriage house for people with better tools. This is basically a fairy tale with invoices. The article headline called me the garage princess. I pretended to hate it. Cole printed it and framed it in the office. Our daughter found it years later and asked why I was wearing overalls in a princess article. I told her real princesses dressed for the work at hand. She accepted this, then asked if she could paint flames on her bicycle. Cole said yes before I could answer. He was softer as a father than anyone expected and stricter about safety than any child deserved. Knee pads, helmets, reflective tape, emergency whistles. Our daughter once declared that Daddy loved rules more than people. Cole knelt in front of her and said rules were how scared people learned to let loved people run. She thought about that. Then she put on the helmet. I cried in the pantry. Hannah caught me and handed me a cookie. Character development is disgusting. I know. The old plot had said Cole would become rich, meet the heroine, and abandon me. It had not imagined him packing school lunches at dawn, arguing with a 5-year-old about glitter sneakers, or falling asleep beside me while reading appliance reviews because our apprentice house needed a new dishwasher. Stories often end when love is confessed because they are cowards about maintenance. Maintenance is where love proves itself. It is oil changes, permission forms, payroll, apologies, replacement sheets, and fish bones removed before dinner because someone remembered you hated them. It is choosing again after the music stops. Cole chose again every morning. So did I.